It's happening more and more. Rare deep-sea creatures are being spotted at the surface. Giant phantom jellyfish, monstrous anglerfish, even oarfish, which some believe are omens of disaster. And what is the connection with World War II? All of this. Something strange happening in the depths of our oceans? Hello, friends. Let's discuss January 2023. In Japan, an angler ventured out in his vessel to catch fish. Somewhere in the midst of the ocean, he cast his fishing net into the water. After some time, when he was pulling back the fish caught in his net, he discovered an unusual, elongated fish. This fish was remarkably lengthy, resembling a serpent. Its length was later determined to be nearly 6 meters. Its body was slimy and pale like rubber. This wasn't an ordinary fish. It originated from the abyss. It was a deep-sea oarfish. Typically, they inhabit the depths of the ocean, around 1 kilometer below the surface. This angler set it free back into the ocean because, according to Japanese folklore, sighting an oarfish is an omen of catastrophe, particularly earthquakes. In 2011, Japan was hit by a catastrophic earthquake, and just before that quake, the lifeless bodies of about 20 oarfish were discovered on the Japanese coastline. But nowadays, these tales are being doubted, because not only in Japan, but in recent years, in numerous locations worldwide, the corpses of oarfish have washed ashore. In 2023, a fisherman caught 50 oarfish in a single attempt. In 2024, in California, oarfish were spotted 3 times. In February 2025, a living oarfish was sighted in Mexico. What are you doing? That's an oarfish. These fish being seen so often is incredibly astonishing because until a few years ago, spotting oarfish was uncommon. It was only in 2001 that, for the first time, a live oarfish was filmed. But it's not just about oarfish. Many such deep-sea creatures are suddenly being observed at the surface level quite frequently. The giant phantom jellyfish is a fascinating creature with ribbon-like tentacles longer than 10 meters. They are usually found 1 to 2 kilometers deep in the ocean, but in Antarctica, they were spotted at a depth of merely 80 meters. There were 2 other such occurrences. In Russia, fishermen caught a creature that was thought to be an extraterrestrial. It was a smooth lumpfish, its body resembling a brain. Apart from this, about 2,000 meters from the Spanish coast, a Black Sea devil anglerfish was seen at the surface level. This frightening-looking fish is called the sea devil. Once again, these 2 types of fish are deep-sea creatures that have almost never been seen at the surface level. So naturally, the question arises, what is happening? These deep-sea creatures, humans didn't even know about them for thousands of years. Why are they suddenly emerging to the surface now? Come, in this video, let's try to comprehend this topic thoroughly. About 71% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. We have classified this water mass into different oceans. 97% of the water on Earth is in the 5 main oceans: Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arctic Ocean, and the Southern Ocean. 94% of the world's wildlife is found in these oceans. But do you know what? Humans have explored and mapped only 5% of the oceans. The remaining 95%, especially the deep sea, still remains a mystery. Surprisingly, we have better maps of Mars than the ocean floor of the planet we live on. Also, 12 astronauts have spent a total of 300 hours on the moon, but only 3 people, and only for 3 hours, were able to go to the deepest point of the sea, Challenger Deep. When you're at a beach in Goa and look at the blue water, you can see only the topmost layer of the ocean. This is called the sunlight zone, the depth to which sunlight can reach. In this area, the oceanic wildlife is the most colorful and diverse. This is the only layer of the sea where photosynthesis is possible. That is why macroalgae and phytoplankton are found here. These 2 living beings are the foundation of the oceanic food chain. Apart from this, in this zone, are most of the things we associate with the ocean: whales, sharks, turtles, and dolphins. But as we go deeper, it starts getting darker. The water absorbs sunlight. At the depth of 10 meters, only 16% of the sunlight remains. And by 100 meters, only 1% of the sunlight remains. And if we go deeper still, light cannot reach beyond the depth of 1,000 meters. This is why it's difficult for humans to see beyond this depth of the ocean. But after the sunlight zone, at the depth of 200 meters, begins the next zone, called the twilight zone. As you know, sunlight encompasses all colors. It is a spectrum of colors. Red has the longest wavelength, and blue and violet have the shortest. Water absorbs the longer wavelengths first. That's why red is the first to disappear. Then orange, yellow, green, and finally blue and violet. Only blue and violet light reaches the twilight zone. All other colors disappear by then. And within this zone, we start seeing the bizarre creatures, like this strawberry squid. This squid looks quite like a strawberry. One of its eyes is bigger than the other. The bigger eye helps it see into the water at higher levels that get light, and the smaller eye helps it see bioluminescence in the dark. This squid looks red to us because we see it when it's at shallower depths, in full spectrum light. But if you look at it in the twilight zone where it lives, it will look almost black. because the color red doesn't reach there. Its color acts as camouflage in its environment. If you go a bit deeper down the twilight zone, you will find the bloody belly comb jelly. Once again, this appears to be a fluorescent red. In the deep seas, most creatures cannot see the color red. So to camouflage themselves, they are red in color. When this jellyfish moves, colorful lights flicker on its body. It looks like 8 rows of rainbows moving through the water. Now you might be wondering, since light cannot reach this deep in the water, how do these lights flicker? This is because of an interesting process called bioluminescence. Through bioluminescence, living beings emit light. This is due to 2 special chemicals, luciferin and luciferase. When these 2 chemicals come together, there's a chemical reaction, and the energy emitted by this reaction is emitted as light instead of heat. These deep-sea creatures use this light either to hide themselves, to attract other creatures, or to communicate with each other. Like, look at this beautiful creature. It looks like a water fairy. It's called a sea angel. It's smaller than a human finger, and in the dark, its empty stomach glows. It's completely blind, but this sea angel can turn into a devil within a few seconds. Its quick tentacles help it form a trap, which is impossible to escape. As soon as the prey reaches its stomach, it stops glowing. At the depth of 600 to 800 meters is the barrel-eye fish, another fascinating fish. Its head is transparent and looks like a dome. Look at it carefully. No other fish resembles it even in the slightest. Looking at it, you will find that its eyes must be the black dots above its nose, but actually, these green bulbs are its eyes. It's interesting that these eyes can only see upwards. So how does it track its food? Scientists theorize that it can somehow rotate its eyes. This feature feels like alien technology, a living submarine with a transparent dome with a 360-degree rotating periscope. If you go deeper into the ocean, you will find this terrifying giant squid. These squids are 13 meters long, equivalent to a 2-story house. The diameter of its eyes is 25 to 30 centimeters, the size of a basketball. These are the largest eyes of any living beings on Earth, adapted to find its prey in the dark waters. Come, let's go deeper. After crossing 1,000 meters, the twilight zone ends, and the midnight zone begins. Here, sunlight doesn't reach at all. The creatures which live here often move about between the twilight zone and the midnight zone, like the deep-sea anglerfish, including the Black Sea Devil. The anglerfish was first popularized in the film Finding Nemo. You might recall this animation. These fish have a fishing pole on their head, with a shiny bulb. They use this bulb to attract their prey in the dark waters. This was shown in the film as well. But the thing that wasn't shown in the film, and one of the weirdest facts about anglerfish, is its reproduction strategy. The male fish are 1/10 the size of the female fish, and their only reason for existence is to reproduce. Once they find a female, they become one with her. And becoming one actually means merging with her body. They start sharing the same blood, and in a way, they become an organ of the female's body. The females collect multiple partners to reproduce. About 6 to 8 males can be found attached to a female body. All of this would have given you an idea that the deep sea is vastly different from life on land. Similarly, we have this vampire squid. This is the last remaining species of its order. All its relatives died 200 million years ago, now remain as fossils. Its 8 legs are connected to each other by a cloak-like webbing. When they are stretched out, it looks like a vampire's cape. For many years, scientists assumed that vampire squid would be a dangerous predator, but in reality, it is not a bloodsucker. In fact, it eats waste. So even though the vampire squid got a cool name, it doesn't accurately reflect its behavior. Let's go further down into the depths. At the depth of 2,000 to 3,000 meters, there is a farmer who grows its own food. This is a Yeti crab. This Yeti actually exists. Its nickname is Yeti because the fur covering its arms reminds us of a Yeti. But if you want to know the truth of the Yeti from the Himalayas, I have discussed it in this video. But this Yeti crab is blind. Its fur is actually bacterial colonies. It farms bacteria on its hairy arms and then eats those bacteria. And here, specifically, we are talking about sulfide oxidizing bacteria, which grow on it because it lives near hydrothermal vents. If we go further down, at the depth of 4,000 meters, the midnight zone ends, and the abyssal zone begins. It continues till 6,000 meters below the surface level, and this zone is still vastly unexplored. The creatures found here aren't found anywhere else on Earth. The Titanic's wreck is present in this zone, around the depth of about 3,810 meters. Some creatures living at this depth have been discovered, like this Dumbo octopus. It's named so because of its big ear-like fins, as it reminds us of Disney's flying elephant Dumbo. At no point does it migrate to the levels above. Instead, it spends its life in the deep sea. These Dumbo octopuses are possibly the cutest animals in the deep sea. They swim gracefully and slowly, drawing descriptions like the deep sea ballerinas. Most of the seafloor is at a depth of 6,000 meters, but at some places, the sea is deeper than this. At such places, we call the depth of 6,000 meters to 11,000 meters the Hadal zone. This is the deepest part of the oceans and is still full of mysteries. We can talk about this in another video. For now, let's stick to the main topic. Why are these deep-sea creatures coming up? During World War II, some sonar operators of the Navy discovered something interesting. They saw that at night, the entire seafloor rises up hundreds of meters. This was discovered using sonar. However, the seafloor wasn't actually rising above. Instead, a large number of fish, squid, and plankton were swimming upwards. This unique event is now called the deep scattering layer. This was the first clue to the hidden highways of the sea, visited by millions of marine creatures every day. The deep scattering layer is that part of the sea which reflects sound. It reflects sound because of the high density of marine life. Scientists have found that every day, millions and billions of creatures ranging from small zooplankton to medium-sized fish swim to the surface level and then back to the depths. This is said to be the largest migration on Earth, and the surprising thing is that this has been happening for centuries, hidden from human eyes. Imagine billions of animals that weigh 25 times more than the total mass of humanity swim up and then down, all at once, every single day. This upwards and downwards migration is called the DL vertical migration, DVM. This migration happens daily, every night. You can see this graph of the migration. During the day, this yellow part is at a depth of 400 meters in the ocean, but at night, this yellow part moves up to the surface. This isn't limited to only a few places. It happens everywhere, from the Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean, from the North Atlantic Ocean to the Southern Ocean. So the question is, why do all these creatures undertake such a difficult journey every night? The simple answer is, to eat without being eaten. In simpler words, they do this to feed. Since photosynthesis happens only at the surface, phytoplankton is found at the surface. Many small fish and zooplankton feed on this phytoplankton. You might ask, why don't they eat during the day? Because they are in danger of being eaten during the day. There are other predators. Creatures like sharks, whales, and dolphins might eat them. That's why these small fish and deep-sea creatures swim to the surface at night. They feed in the dark, and before daybreak, they disappear back into the depths of the sea. Here, the problem is that this has been changing over the past few years. Due to climate change, instead of this daily migration, they're migrating permanently. With the Earth getting warmer, these deep-sea creatures are moving towards colder places like the poles. You'd already know that the heat generated by global warming is mostly being absorbed by our oceans. 90% of the heat is absorbed by the oceans. And with time, as this heat is absorbed by the water, the oceans keep getting hotter. The temperatures that were stable for hundreds of thousands of years are now rising. So what's happening here is that the heat from the sun is warming up water at the surface, but the water in the deep sea remains cold, at the same temperature as before, because the sun's heat can't reach there. Warm water is lighter than cold water. It is less dense. That's why it's closer to the surface, and the cold water remains at the bottom. These two waters cannot mix easily. Consequently, the oxygen in the water at the surface cannot get to the cold water at the bottom. There is a shortage of oxygen in the deep sea. Even a slight shortage of oxygen means that the population there will decline on a large scale. This gives rise to the threat of extinction. And these deep-sea creatures have evolved in stable oxygen environments. So in their search for oxygen, they are migrating towards the surface. They are moving from the deep sea to surface water. This is dangerous for them because they have not evolved to live in surface water. During the day, they will easily become prey to sharks and whales. Scientists predict that by the end of this century, the temperature of the abyssal zone will increase by 1 degree Celsius, and deep-sea creatures, compared to those living near the surface, will migrate 4 to 11 times faster. The future of these amazing creatures is now in danger, and many such creatures can be extinct forever. The shocking part is that many of these creatures haven't even been discovered yet. Every year, new animals are discovered in the deep sea. Such creatures can now be extinct because of humans, about which we don't even know. And it's not just about these creatures. Our lives are also connected to the deep sea. The deep sea stores large quantities of carbon. Phytoplankton actually works as trees. They absorb carbon and store it among themselves in the deep sea. This regulates the carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. But due to the changes caused by climate change, the carbon dioxide absorbing capacity of the oceans is decreasing. However, climate change is still a long-term threat. In the short term, there's another pressing threat to these deep-sea creatures caused by humans. This threat is deep-sea mining. Look at this scaly foot snail. Its legs are made of iron. It lives on the deep-sea floor near hydrothermal vents. It is a small creature with a big heart. Its heart is 4% of its body volume. In the entire animal kingdom, this creature has the biggest heart compared to its body. If humans had such big hearts, it would have been as big as our heads. It has been living near the hydrothermal vents on the seafloor for millions of years, but some crony capitalists are trying to kill this off. Till now, this snail has been found at 3 places. but mining companies are trying to get their hands on these places. They want to mine for gold and silver near these hydrothermal vents. Some people want to earn money by sending large machines there to dig in the deep seas, causing large-scale destruction of this ecosystem. I hope this was an informative video. Is in the description below, and the hydrothermal vents and deep sea that we talked about in this video. Did you know that life began there? There's a significant connection between the origin of life and the deep sea. If you want to know more about how life came to be, I have discussed the details in this video. Subscribe the channel. Thank you very much.